All year round, Frontier Home Products and Design has what you need to make your home comfortable and beautiful. Relax on a new timber tech deck designed by Frontier's experts. A new fireplace from Frontier Home Products Fireplace Gallery adds warmth and serenity to any home. Beauty and versatility at Frontier Home Products and Design Center, 4213 Peachtree, East 5th, next to the Bayfront Highway.
Frontier Home Products and Design Center. Discover a new frontier.
PA contractor number PA039007.
From baggage claim to pajamas in 10 minutes. Erie International Airport. Fly with ERI.com.
Fly Erie International Airport to Charlotte on American Airlines, your nonstop gateway to the world. Also, we have Breeze Airways flying nonstop to Orlando and Tampa, Florida. A great low-cost carrier providing excellent service to the regional community. Fly Erie International for your travel needs.
Fly with ERI.com.
Welcome to TalkErie.com's Joel Natale Show, Erie, Pennsylvania's daily podcast. Every day, we tackle the biggest issues that the Erie, PA region faces. Stay informed and involved as we advance the narrative of Erie. Now, here's Joel Natale.
Whenever we get to talk infrastructure, I'm absolutely loving it here, especially when it talks about the airport here, and we're glad to welcome back Derek Martin, the Executive Director of the Erie Regional Airport Authority, Erie International Airport, Tom Ridgefield. Good to see you, Derek.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so, there's been quite a turnaround, would you say? Has it been, 12 months? Has it been 15, 16 months? When did Breeze first announce?
Breeze announced be 2 years in August.
Oh, it is.
Yeah,
okay.
It's been 2 years. They've gone through 2 whole years of flying for Tampa because they did it seasonal.
Yes.
And now the Orlando's been year round. So
pretty amazing. When you think about, if we were to transport back to our conversations when we were down to like a couple flights on American, pretty much in the middle of COVID. And you all, the Fly Erie Fund through the chamber had, really, there was a lot of heavy lifting going on to try to bring an ultra low cost carrier. Is this about the best outcome we could have seen from all those efforts to get a high quality ULCC like Breeze?
it is by far the best. People talked about what happened to Avelo, and Avelo has had some challenges. But if you look at last year's financial component for airlines, American made a profit, Delta made a profit, United made a profit, and Breeze made a profit. Every other airline in the industry basically lost money.
Southwest lost money, wow.
Yeah, they lost money. And so here's a statistic for you. Since 2019, Frontier and now the defunct Spirit lost $6 billion between the two of them. With a B, $6 billion. And so that we have airlines that are making money, that are trying to strive and survive. Breeze is taking delivery of one new plane a month. Some of that stuff right now is they're trying to take advantage of some of the departure of Spirit Airlines in different markets. But those are good things because of what we've done the last couple of years.
So are you happy with the traffic? Like, tell us a little bit about the employments and your percentages and so on.
Well, as people I think know, we had, as you said earlier, we had 2 flights to on Charlotte to American, and those were going out at 96% load factor. Mm-hmm. Then they tried a 3rd flight, and we had that same level of response. So when they made the 3rd flight permanent, we were going out at 92% load factor. So people in the community had responded. They're filling the seats. Breeze finished last year at 82% for all their flights. That is a great thing from a standpoint. That was an airline that nobody ever heard of until we brought it into town.
Right.
That we got people to give it a try and enjoy the experience. First class on the plane, beautiful airplane, beautiful seats. 2-hour ride, 2 hour and 10 minutes down from here to Orlando or Tampa. It's just a great experience.
And so what, again, you've been in this business a long time. What are you, if you were just coming in as a consultant and you were going to try to help an airport, what kind of load factors would you be shooting for that is kind of the gold standard?
Well, Breeze likes over 80, so we're there.
Okay.
And, the legacy carriers are 85 to 90, depending on the aircraft type. So the bigger the aircraft, the more seats there are, but you also have the opportunity to make more money on people buying first class. So the United and American flights to Chicago now both have first class seats available for people to take on their destination.
What kind of apparatus are they using for Chicago now?
American is a CRJ 700, and the United is the Brasilia, I believe.
What are we talking, like 50, 70?
76 or 65 seats.
Oh, okay. So it's I mean, again, when you go from 50 to 75, that's a 50% increase in capacity for each flight. When United announced, and again, that was quite a weekend because you had the American announce on a Friday, then I think United announced on a Monday or Tuesday.
Thursday, Friday.
Thursday, Friday. Is that what it was?
Yeah. It was my birthday present.
I believe it.
It was. The first announcement was actually on my birthday.
Wow.
And then my consultant called me later in the day and started singing Happy Birthday again. I'm like, what are you doing? He says, it's your lucky day. I go, oh, okay, like what's going on? And so he told me about United announcing the next day. So when I was trying to tell the media that we were having another press conference the next day, you just had a press conference.
Right, exactly.
So
yes.
Here's an statistic for everybody here, is that with those two announcements between those two carriers, Erie doubled the number of seats in the marketplace in 24 hours. And by that, from January 1 to June, it made Erie one of the top 15 fastest growing airports in the country.
That's remarkable, honestly. When you think about that kind of growth, and what we have to say is that not everybody's getting that kind of attention in the secondary markets, right? In the what do you call Erie? What is that?
It's a regional
hub kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a regional market for people. We're surrounded, as everybody knows, by Cleveland, Pittsburgh, and Buffalo, and so I think both Cleveland and Pittsburgh, I think, are considered as a medium hub, and Buffalo is a small hub airport.
Okay.
So we're below that. So it's just the number of passengers that are going through the facility and terminal building. But again, their populations are bigger. I mean,
sure.
You think about Cleveland. Cleveland's sort of like the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota. People go, why do they have such a big airport and runway? They have people from Saudi Arabia and all these places around the world. They fly their private jets into Rochester, Minnesota, to get the best medical care in the world in the United States. And so they make sure they have the runway to do that. When those people come to that hospital, they have wings upstairs for them to just go to have their procedures, work with the doctors and nurses and that sort of thing. So it's just a different ball game when you're talking about people with the wherewithal that they have and the access to
Cleveland Clinic's dealing with the same thing.
Correct.
And that is one of our challenges here in Erie, is that the number of corporate headquarters has greatly diminished, and so you don't have the kind of private fleet like we might have had even 20, 30 years ago, right? I mean,
right. So I mean, Erie Insurance just went up on the Fortune 500 list again. They're, I think, at 309, so they think they increased 13 or 14 year over year. So they're still doing well. But as you said, Cleveland has more Fortune 500. Pittsburgh has more, and because of that demographic mix, they have more higher incomes than we have here in Erie, Pennsylvania.
Do we get much NetJets traffic?
Yes. So anytime Erie Insurance has their board of directors meetings, the ramp out at the airport is filled with NetJets planes, and everybody's going, what are all those big jets doing here? They're coming into Erie Insurance.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, that's a fractional jet.
Right.
A little bit above first class.
Well, it's a fractional, but one of the wealthiest men in the country, Warren Buffett, that's what he does. He owns NetJet.
Okay.
He doesn't own his own plane. To him, it makes more sense to take one of those NetJet
instead
planes.
of buying his own Gulfstream, huh?
That's right.
Oh my gosh!
That's why he lives in the same house he's lived in since 1950.
He is a remarkable person. The gas or jet fuel during this war has been a challenge as well for the industry. What are you hearing from your colleagues, and what are you reading in the trades about the gas, the fuel?
So jet fuel has been challenging, particularly internationally.
Okay.
The month of reserves that they have has dwindled down to some places to 6 months. And if it wasn't for some of the air carriers cutting their service because they were unsure what was going on in those regions, some of those areas might have ran out of fuel. I was getting my master's at NYU in New York, and we're taking my economy class, and Delta Airlines made the decision to buy a refinery in Pennsylvania outside of Philadelphia. And my professor said, that's a market failure. I said, no, I think it's a smart move because they're taking care of the number one expense they have is jet fuel. And so right now, Delta has an advantage over their competitors because they can produce 75% of their domestic requirement needs out of that factory in Pennsylvania. And so it's an interesting to see how these different operators are operating, but we'll see what happens. And it's also a refinery process. It's not like you just get the oil and then overnight.
Sure.
So it takes time to process it. So it'll be interesting how this continues to grow. But it's the price of that fuel that's caused havoc.
Yeah. But so did we see cuts domestically? Hearing a 10% decrease in routes because of the cost of the fuel. Did you see any of that?
Well, so the airlines have basically cut routes that had a low financial return to the bottom line. Okay. So if there was something that was marginal, it got stopped for the summertime. So that's happened all across the United States. So we've been fortunate here. We haven't had that at Erie. So we've still got the 3 to Charlotte, 1 to Chicago on American, and October 29th, United Airlines will be coming back with 3 flights a day to Chicago O'Hare as well.
Yeah, that was remarkable, that announcement that United said, if we're going to go back to Erie, we're going to go back kind of big time with multiple flights.
Well, it's a business market, and to have the best level of success, you need a 3 frequency, and so that's what Delta did. Delta had an early outbound in the morning. I could fly out to the West Coast, take a red eye from the West Coast, get back to Detroit, and get back to Erie by 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning. Mm-hmm. And then outbound from Erie, you had that flight that just arrived with passengers, and then you had one that came back a little later in the afternoon around 5 o'clock that went out. So you had that 3-level frequency, and it allowed you to get the business traveler in and out. So business travelers love to go out for the day and come back on the same day, and you can do that with a 3-pattern component. So it was allowing them to do that. And also we got to remember, when we had all the service prior to the pandemic 2019, Delta did 3 flights a day, American did 2 flights a day, and United did 2 flights a day. So it was normally 7. But during the summer of 2019, American also had 2 flights to Chicago along with United. So it's sort of back to where we were from the number of flights for both those carriers going forward. But, we've gone from American's got 4, United will have 3, that's 7, and then you have your Breeze. So we still have the mix of 9.
Yeah.
It's just different carriers.
Yeah. Do you think that United especially is gunning for that business traveler like Delta used to get? Again, when Delta came out, they left 40% of the market share.
Right. Absolutely. They're trying to get the business traveler. The money that a lot of people think airline tickets is where they make their money. They make more money on credit card fees.
Is that right?
So if you look at last year, I think as an industry, they got remitted back from the credit card companies. I think it was $10.4 billion. And I think United or Delta was about 8.8, and I think they want to get to 12 billion in the future. Yeah. So a lot of the revenue that they get is coming from credit card components, not necessarily airline tickets. So if you take the cost of an airline ticket and put it like, if you bought 10 cappuccinos from Starbucks, you've made 1 cent on every cappuccino you sold. That's what the airline tickets are basically about. And so the challenge with that is people think that the airline tickets are expensive, but I always find it interesting. nobody talks about the hotel rates.
Right. Yeah.
So the hotel rates, you're there longer in a hotel than you're really on a plane. And
Sure.
We had a conference in Atlanta, and I think our discounted rate was $450 a
Oh
night.
my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to take a phone call? Let's grab one here. Hi, you're live on Talk Erie. We're up against a break. Go ahead, though.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. That's great. This is class. They'd love to travel right out of Erie's before being informed and everything. But there's a lot of consumer flights that they're still driving to 3 points, Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Cleveland. Would Erie Airport entertain attracting someone to set up a hub here in Erie that would get people to Buffalo, Cleveland, and Pittsburgh, and rescue those flights away from the street?
I'll let him answer off on the line. Thanks so much. Appreciate it, man. Bye.
Sure.
Yeah. What about you? Kind of taught me about short hops kind of not being profitable at all, right?
Yeah, so the airlines have gotten rid of all their small aircraft. So I think what he's remember the old turbochops that you had
Sure.
9 people, then you had 29, and you had 50, and those planes have become obsolete. So if one of the practical ones people ask all the time is what happened to Toronto?
Yeah.
Well, Air Canada made the decision that it's a drive market. You can drive to Toronto in 3 hours.
Yeah.
And get to the airport and fly out of town. So they don't want to allocate the resources for that. And when we had the shortage in pilots, the airlines have to make a decision. Are we going to have people fly a plane that has 60, 70, 200 passengers, or something that only can have 9? So we are losing passengers to those market, but we usually lose passengers to market because we have more demand than we have seats. And that's one of the things that we've been fighting, trying to get turned around. So if you think about what Breeze did going to Orlando and Tampa in a year time frame, a fiscal year, they brought about 19,000 additional passengers on their plane. So that just shows you that American was still filling their planes, but there was 19,000 additional people that flew nonstop out of Erie down to those Florida destinations.
Let's make sure our folks understand what's happening here as we get through the summer. First off, they're talking about, lots of people are flying Memorial Day, 4th of July, Labor Day. Do we see those spikes, or is our availability so tight that we don't really see the spiking happen during the holidays?
It spikes, but it's minimal because
Yeah.
our flights are already full. So
Yeah.
if you take a look, we have consistent traffic throughout the year, and that's what you want. The spikes don't do any good. A lot of people like to go to the airline and says, well, we got all these college students. And they'll say, well, yeah, that happens 2 or 3 times a year.
Right.
They come in the beginning of the season, they might go home at Christmas, and then they leave in the spring. And so you need that consistent level. One of the things we have, and one of the things why this community is important for American and United, is the international traffic. With Gannon having about 1,200 students, Penn State Barron having about 1,000, and then Edinburgh, Penn West having similar numbers of international students. All those students are coming to Erie because they can fly from wherever they're coming from and fly right into this community. If they had to go to Pittsburgh, they're not coming to Erie to go to school because you can't make it easy, and it has to be easy for those people.
That makes a lot of sense. The so come October, we're looking at 3 flights to Charlotte on American. How many flights is it? Twice a day on Wednesdays and Saturdays for Breeze to Orlando?
No, they go to Orlando and then they go to Tampa. So Wednesday and Saturday, they both go to those 2 destinations.
Okay.
And then we'll have 3 flights a day on United to Chicago and 1 flight a day on American to Chicago.
Okay.
And so we'll when that happens, we'll have a total of 9 weekly flights. But what's interesting is the number of seats available in the marketplace is different. So if you think about Breeze, they came with a plane that holds 137 passengers.
Yeah.
So if we're talking the 50-passenger regional jet, it's almost 4 or 5 times the other planes.
Right.
So it makes it easy. So basically, the 3 times the number of passengers you're filling with Breeze is maybe 3 flights on the old 50-seat American plane.
Yes.
And so you're doing that with 1. So if you do that twice a day, you're at almost 276 passengers if the plane is full.
What's it take if they have the plane? What's it take for an American or a United to go that next step up from the 70 passenger to the 120? Because they have 120 planes, don't they?
Yeah, but the challenge is we don't have enough people that want to do that on a daily basis.
It's the daily versus weekly thing.
Right. And then if you also look at, they're trying to connect people over their hub and what they're doing. So somebody says, well, why don't we just have one big plane a day? But for that business traveler that wants to come into Erie, do business, and leave the same day, they can't do it if there's just one big plane. Right. So when you have three over the course of a day, you give people options to get in and out of your community. So the example coming from the West Coast, if you come from the West Coast on a red eye, you can get here in Erie by 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning. You can work your business or whatever you're doing for 6 hours and get back on a plane and go back to the West Coast basically in the same day. And so you've made a 24-hour trip very easy to get in and out of the community. When you have less frequency, it makes that difficult. So now you have to throw in a hotel
So you would rather have smaller planes, more frequency. That's kind of the ticket for a market our size.
We want more frequency to American, United, and Delta because they connect to the hub to different destinations. So
would we go back to Detroit if Delta came back, or would we be going to Minneapolis or Cincinnati, you think?
Well, they stopped having a hub in Cincinnati.
Oh, they did. Okay.
And Minneapolis, that means they're overflying the Detroit hub. So right now, they were the first airline to basically said that 50 passengers don't work, and they replaced it with an A220. It's the same plane that Breeze flies. And that plane holds 109 to 139, depending on how it's configured with Delta. So
if we were to get Delta back, we're talking maybe 120 seats?
No, they would never come back with that.
So
they would have to come back with a 76-passenger airplane to make it work.
Get paid to drive. Start a new career behind the wheel at the EMTA. If you are looking for a high-paying and rewarding career with full benefits and paid training, stop by or apply online today with the EMTA. Plus, EMTA riders can now enjoy free Wi-Fi on new, clean, and environmentally friendly buses to travel all over Erie County. Visit ridethee.com for more information.
Get on board EMTA. Get on board EMTA. Get
At Quickfill, what matters most is that our customers, our communities, and our heroes are taken care of. We start by providing American-made gasoline, which means you can buy local, keeping America and your communities strong. We also support vital charities every year and hold Operation Give Thanks each November to help provide a better future for our veterans and their families. We're proud to support the communities we live and work in, and we're doing our best every day to make our towns a better place. Quickfill, driving America.
Looking for amazing finds and incredible deals? Visit Erie City Mission Thrift today. From stylish clothes and shoes to quality furniture and home goods, you'll discover something new each time while changing lives right here in Erie. It's shopping that feels good and does good. Come see us in Erie and Girard. Erie City Mission Thrift. Thrift with a purpose.
Derek Martin is with us. We're talking the airport and airlines. And Derek, I want you to, reinforce what are some of the things you've got coming up here at the airport this summer, and just some best practices, because you got that really super early flight. People still need to get there when?
Well, we recommend at least an hour and 15 minutes before your flight to get.
What is that? 6:05 American to Charlotte, or what is that?
Well, the Charlotte flight 6:38, but the Charlotte or Chicago flight on American leaves at 5:15.
Oh snap! Okay, so when do your folks get there? When does the agents get there?
The agents TSA get there about 2 hours before departure, so it's an early morning for them. A few years ago, I think it was Delta or One that talked about all the activity and work going on at airport before the passengers arrive, and it was the chefs, the cooks, the baggage handlers, all those people. And people don't think about all these people coming to work bright and early to be ready for you to get on a plane at 5 o'clock in the morning or something like that. It's pretty remarkable.
Yeah. So you can check in if you have that what is it, 5:15?
Yes.
Whew. So you want to be there 4 o'clock,
right?
For the flight to Chicago.
Yeah. Check your bag. go through TSA and then go get a nice coffee or a sandwich up in the restaurant.
So the restaurant will be open?
Oh, yeah, the restaurant is definitely open.
Terrific. I always have, whenever you're here, I got to ask you about ground transportation. And so what's going on? Like, is it Uber? We don't have a shuttle, right? And we don't have a taxi service. So what are best ideas for that?
So the hotels down here on the Bayfront actually have a shuttle.
They do.
And they actually meet all the arriving aircraft for flights. The crews for the airlines stay out by the mall, so they take a shuttle from them, but they usually don't take hotel passengers. They only take crews.
Gotcha.
But we do have Uber and Lyfts, and they're doing some things. But and then the last resort is the City of Erie bus, EMTA, and you can take that. We have a bus station right outside the terminal.
Are those timed to receive upon arrival? Like, do they usually kind of get there, or
no?
Not really?
They're not timed for that. I think they're timed throughout the day. So usually every 30-40 minutes there's a bus at the airport.
Well, that's not too long of a wait,
depending on when you arrive. Yep.
Yeah. As far as bags and things like that, again, we've had several news stories about firearms being caught by the TSA and whatever. Are people getting smarter about all that, you think, Derek?
Well, we still haven't had a problem here in Erie. That's been happening in other places throughout the United States. And somehow people forget that they have a firearm, which is interesting to me because you have a firearm and you didn't know where you put it. And that's kind of scary.
Yes.
And so it's a challenge to get through those processes. But, the people here have actually adjusted to getting to the Erie airport early. And I think that was a combine of the breeze flights. And so if you think about what's going to happen in October with United and American flying in the morning, you're going to have one flight to Chicago on American, one flight to Charlotte, and one flight to Chicago on United. So you're going to have 3 flights leaving at approximately the same time with about 70 passengers each, which is 210 people.
Yeah.
So there's 210 people trying to get through security. And then if you're on the days that Breeze flies, what we used to have is if you had American with 50 and then you had 137, people would come to the airport terminal and walk in and say, "Holy crap, look at that line."
Right. Where did that happen?
Where did that come from?
Yeah.
And so people have actually done a really good job of getting to the airport in a timely manner, and the planes get out on time. And a lot of things people don't understand is the airlines want that plane fully boarded 15 minutes before departure.
I was going to say, there's no more you whiz in, at departure time.
Yeah, and so
that door is closed.
That door is closed. And so the airlines sometimes are waiting for that one straggler to give them that 15-minute grace period. Once that's over, the doors close, as you say, and they move on. So you get to the airport early. I mean, I don't know why you would want to rush or try to cut that short, because all you're doing is putting stress on you and anybody else that's traveling with you to the airport.
And explain, again, I think people don't really realize that, like, Charlotte and O'Hare and Chicago, they depend on these feeder flights to get people to the final destinations. They're actually competing for the Erie business, are they not?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, people are trying to get to those bigger hub destinations, whether they're going to Chicago or Charlotte or beyond. And so you have to get to those destinations typically through a connection, communities of the size of Erie. And there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, you get there. I left here a couple of weeks ago. I went from Erie, Chicago to Salt Lake City. So I had one stop and I'm in Salt Lake City, basically almost on the complete West Coast. And so it's a nice little breakup for the trip going to Chicago. It's about an hour plane ride, so you're up and down. You basically go over Lake Erie, go over Lake Michigan, and boom, you're dropping into O'Hare. So it's a good trip, and you just have to be aware of the number of steps you might take going through those airports. So
yeah, if you're landing in Terminal E and you have to go to Terminal A for your outbound, that could be a long time.
That is a walk. I've done it.
You've done it
with my bad leg.
Again, you are on top of the entire airline business. What happened with Spirit? What was the deal there?
Well, Spirit for years is trying to appease to the people that didn't fly. So as I told Brian Slowin, when we were in New York is back in the olden days, people that never flew. And then you had people that only took the Greyhound, and there were people that only took the train, and then you had people that only flew. And so when you have that sort of segmentation, they came in with lower fares, and they tried to stimulate lower fares to get you to get to the airport and take a trip, and they might have upsold you with a seat, drinks, and all that other stuff.
They were going to nickel and dime every little thing.
Right. But when you get on a plane, what you see from that is, and it happened in New York City, is these people never flew before. Mm-hmm. So they show up at the airport with their garbage bag full of clothes because they didn't have luggage. And so those people come through the system, they don't know what to do. So if you have a business traveler or some people that have traveled over the years, they know exactly what to do, know where to go, do those sort of things. So these people actually sometimes clog up the system. But the problem is you can't continue to try to sell $39, $49, $59 airline seats when the costs of pilots and crews and jet fuel have all increased. You can't make a profit. One of the reasons some of these airlines stay around a long time, and I'm not sure if I shared this with you, since 2019, Frontier Airlines and Spirit Line, the combined loss of those two carriers was $6 billion.
It's incredible.
Yeah, and people say, how can that be possible? So what happens is when you buy an airline ticket, say that you're going, you mentioned Labor Day weekend, so maybe you're going away for Labor Day weekend, and you bought your ticket 1st of June. The airlines have your money for June, July, and August. They're utilizing your money to do things, but you haven't paid the trip. So they owe you if you bought a refundable ticket to yourself or something where you can get some cash back. Otherwise, that's a debt that they have to do. And so if you keep collecting money for 90 days before somebody flies, you've collected a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And so these people have an opportunity to do that. So if you think about a restaurant never collects money until somebody comes in and buys food.
Right.
And so when people buy things in advance, they have a cash flow component that most businesses don't have.
That is interesting. And so, but they got into this business hoping to make a profit. At one point, they were profitable.
Right.
But is it so tenuous that you see a downturn, or you see the rising prices of jet fuel or whatever, and that just turns the economic equation upside down?
So the economic equation, if you think about the 50-passenger regional jet, it was determined in 2007 that was obsolete. So Delta was the first airlines to say what airplane we're going to take, and they went with the A220. But what happened is during the global pandemic, you had two carriers, maybe three, started a new service. You had a Velo, and you had Breeze. Mm-hmm. And where they got pilots from were from the regionals. So a regional carrier might had a 50-passenger regional jet or a 76-passenger regional jet. They might have been making $30,000, $40,000 a year.
Yeah, they did not make a lot of money.
They did not make a lot of money. And then with these other airlines were starting off and growing, I call it poach. So they took a person from one of those carriers and brought him to a Velo or Breeze or wherever, and now say they're offering $100,000. So if the number was 40 before and 100, it's a $60,000 swing. So now to try to keep some of their pilots, the regional jets now says, well, we got to charge, or pay that pilot sort of what the other paying, so we get to keep these people. And so that was the battle. So then you had the shortage of pilots because the airlines let too many people retire with early retirement. And
especially during COVID.
Yeah, and so you had all those dynamics playing a role in driving the cost of the cost of operating an airline up. Yeah. And the airline prices hadn't skyrocketed to recover from that. And that's where the challenge is, as they kept trying to push that low-cost model and survive, it didn't work. I mean, I used to work in Detroit Metro. I was flying back to New Jersey. Frontier Airlines had a $59 round-trip airline ticket. I didn't buy a bag. I didn't pick a seat assignment. I just got on the plane and there. You can't make money on a $59 ticket because most likely $19, that's taxes and fees. So it was $40, $20 each way.
Yeah.
It's impossible. But you get on the plane, there's no comfort.
Right.
I mean, there's no comfort in a Frontier airline seat. Same thing with Spirit. It's just like a piece of rubber and that's it. I mean, you come to the Erie airport, the furniture that we have at the airport is top of the line. Mm-hmm. We got the best stuff. You don't even see it in some of the bigger airports. But it's going on 8 years of since we purchased that, and you can't tell. It looks like it's brand new still.
Wow. Let's talk about some of the, where, the folks say, well, why can't we get a flight to Newark, or why can't we get a flight to LaGuardia? All those slots are very highly managed, right? They're only going to go to major markets. Is that correct?
No. So the flights into New York City airports.
Yeah.
And
Boston to D.C.
No. So
okay.
New York, LaGuardia, Kennedy.
Yeah.
And Newark Airport. They are slot controlled by the federal government.
Slot control, okay.
And so what that means is they allocate how many flights per day or per hour can go into the airport. Mm-hmm. And based on that, airlines do flights. So are you going to fly a 200-passenger plane or a 50-passenger plane? And so to change things, you would have to get rid of a 200-passenger plane to maybe do a 50 plane out of Erie, and nobody's going to give up 150 passengers for 50. The other thing is, I worked for the Port Authority in New York, New Jersey, and Alaska Air wanted to come into New York City. The only way we could get them in to Kennedy is you arrive at 12:05 a.m., and that plane left before 6 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
And so that was the only way they can get nonstop, because the rest of the day was full of traffic. And
did they do it?
Oh, yeah, they did it. And so that's how.
Was their crew allowed to be used? I thought you had a certain. Oh, 2 crews.
2 crews. So what they did was they most likely started off with 3 crews. They brought, or they flew somebody the day before, and so they're sitting there waiting, and then they.
Well, that gets expensive too, Derek.
Well, yeah, but if you wanted to get in the market, that was
right.
that was the only way you can to do it. So
yeah,
that thing you were talking about, crew rest. So this was an interesting thing. So Americans doing their flight to Chicago, and they do the one departure in the morning, then they have the one coming at night. I'm going, what are you guys doing about crews? Like, where's this other crew coming from? And he says, well, there's this little caveat that we can take the last flight. Our night doesn't start until 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock before that flight leaves. As long as we go to a hotel and relax for 3 hours, we can get up in the morning and take that flight the next day. And then when they get to O'Hare that morning, they're done for the day.
Okay.
So, I mean, they have to work those rules.
So they're basically calling that overnight their work day.
Correct.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I wanted to ask you about workforce. Again, last time I think we were still talking about the need for pilots. I'm hearing about all the schools. Corey High Ed has an aviation program. Other folks are looking at, getting aviation apprenticeships going and things like that. Do you think that's going to help us go a long way towards filling the gaps, whether it's for pilots or technicians or air traffic control? What do you think? So
the flight school at the Erie Airport is doing a great job. They work with like 3 or 4 universities, Gannon, Edinburgh, and a couple other. They've also reached out to a mechanics program in Pittsburgh, and the president of Gannon University is working on starting an A&P mechanic program at the Erie Airport. So that would create a lot of good jobs for people. There was a kid from the gym that I worked out with. He said, I need you to do me a favor. I go, do me a favor? What are you talking about? He says, my friend, he's going to go down to Pittsburgh for an A&P mechanics program, and he wanted to get a sense of what's happening and what the job is.
What does A&P stand for?
Airframe and Power Plant. So it's basically the certification to repair planes, aircraft.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So he went there about 3 weeks ago. My phone rings. He says, you don't remember me. I go, I don't know who you are, but go ahead. And he says, my friend from the gym introduced me to you, and you had me get a tour of the airport. I go, yeah, you went to school in Pittsburgh. He says, well, I'm graduating. I need a job. So I contacted the guy that runs the flight school. He interviewed him. He's going to start there in a couple weeks. So there are people that can utilize that trade here, but there was another kid this was hilarious. So my director of HR, her nephew from Pittsburgh, had finished that same program we just talked about, and he was trying to find a job. So he came up to Erie. We got him a job. He started in Erie. He was at the job about 3 months, and he had applied for other places. There was a program that interviewed him, and they sent him to Hawaii. So this kid now lives in Hawaii repairing aircraft, and they're paying for his housing and all sorts of stuff. So it's interesting to see how that goes. So that would really change the dynamic of Gannon University to have that program on board along with the flight school. It's going to allow for additional people that want jobs not in the white collar world, more blue collar, but good paying blue collar jobs that are not going to go away. And
what's been great for Gannon is that Breeze flight to Tampa, because that's where the Ruskin campus is in
absolutely.
Tampa Bay. I mean, it's just, again, all this stuff works. How about air traffic control? Are kids coming up to want to do that?
They inquire. We had a kid inquire the other day. The challenge with that is they send you to Texas. Okay. And you go through that.
That's where the feds teach you?
That's where they teach you. Okay. And then some of them wind up here in Erie and they get trained. But it's a slow process. So you hear the Secretary of Transportation says we're going to train new controllers. Well, it's not a snap of a finger, and it's not happening overnight.
What is it, like 18 to 24 months or something like that?
So after you graduate, for Cleveland, for example, after you graduate the course, you go to Cleveland and you work along somebody for 2 years, I believe, there before they let you go out on your own. So it's not something that just happens. It takes time.
And we have ATC here in Erie, right?
Yeah. Yep. I mean, 18 hours a day there in the tower from 6 a.m. to midnight.
Beautiful. Yep. All right. Again, the big takeaway is hour and 15 minimum to get to the airport. And we have some other great news for you as well. Please, go ahead. So the flight school is doing a warboards display the end of June. I think the 30th to July 5th at the airport. There should be stuff on the website and the media, so if people want to come out and look at old planes, they can do that. And then we're working hard to try to get another global entry event at the airport so people can come out and get their global entry, TSA pre-checks included, and get some an opportunity to continue to expedite through the different airports around the world. People are actually, they come from all around to get this global entry certification. Yeah. When we first did it, we had people fly up from Texas. Which is nuts. Yeah. Flew up from Texas to get this thing. Absolutely crazy. All right. Always love to hear the good news coming out of ERI. Derek Martin, appreciate it, man. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
You've been listening to The Joel Natale Show, Erie, Pennsylvania's daily podcast from TalkErie.com. Subscribe to our show on your favorite podcatcher and get involved by emailing Joel@TalkErie.com.